So, so first of all, I have several announcements that I will need to do, okay? I will go for the assignment tool first, okay? So the assignment tool, okay, so I believe that if you check the email box today, okay, if you check the email box today, you will actually find that I have sent you an email to talk about the assignment tool, okay? The assignment tool is released on the Moodle, okay? You can just download it and just submit it, just like in the previous assignments, okay? And there are 10 MC questions, okay? And there is two short questions. The first short question require you to use the best first search, okay? The best first search, okay? To find the routes, okay? Starting from the initial state to the goal state, okay? And for the A star search, okay, you will need to do the same for the second part, okay, you will need to do the same, okay? You will need to use the A star search to find a route from the initial state to the goal state, okay? So so if you recall what you learned, okay, the concept of solving this problem is not that difficult, okay? So essentially, you just need to remember one rule, okay? For the best first search, okay, you 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 start from the initial state, okay, and each time you select a node that has the smallest estimated cost, and the estimated cost is already given to you as a table, okay, and you refer back to the network, okay, the CBOO is connecting to Fredgrass and CBOO is connecting to Visual WeChat. So we add these two nodes to the search tree, okay? Each time when you explore a node, you go back to the network and see how many nodes is connected to this node, is reachable by this node, okay? And you add those nodes into the search tree, okay? And then for the best first search, you just copy the values from the from the heuristic function to the nodes, okay? And the next one, you select the node that have the smallest value and you repeat the step, and then that's it, okay? So this is how you do the best first search, okay? So any questions? Any questions? And for the A star search, okay, you essentially the rule is that you would essentially keep track. You will need to keep track the path cost from the initial state to every node in the search tree. Okay. So for example here, the CBOO can go to Fredgrass and the FreeBOO can go to Visual WeChat. And the CBOO according to the notes, for the CBOO to go to Fredgrass, the cost is 99. So we put down 99 here, okay, as the first value necessary to our calculation. And then we refer back to the heuristic function table, and we get the heuristic function for the factors, okay, and we copy it here, okay, and we add these two values together, A becomes 277, okay, and we do the same for Visual WeChat, and we get the figure 273, okay. So the figure 273 is obtained from CBOO to Fredgrass is 80, okay, and Visual WeChat's value is 193. So we get these two values together, and it becomes 273, okay. And the next one, we actually select the node that have the smallest values. And then we expand it, okay? When we expand a node, we go back to the network and see what node is connected to that node, okay? And we do the same, okay? So for p-test, we calculate path from CBOO to p-test along the search tree. So for the p-test here, if CBOO need to travel to p-test, we need to go for this route and this route. So we add 80 and 97 together, and it becomes 177, okay? And the 80 and 97 is obtained from the network, okay? From the network, we mutual reacher to p-test is 97, so we copy this value here, okay? And from Cebu to we mutual reacher, according to network is 80, so we up copy 80 here, okay? Okay, and you add the two values together and it becomes 177. So 177 will be the cost from Cebu to p-test in the search tree. Okay, and you go back to the heuristic value and you get the heuristic value for the p-test and you copy here, add the two numbers together, then you will get the overall estimated cost of p-test. Okay, and you do the same for Cavera, and you keep on doing this again and again and again. Then when you reach the point that the node you expand is the goal state and you stop. Okay, so this is the rule that I already talked about in the previous lecture in solving the problem of the A-star search. Okay, the A-star search is not that difficult. Okay, you may think that, Professor, I just cannot understand what you are writing in the source code. But don't worry, you just remember, you just recite the rule that I just talked about, and then you'll be able to construct the search tree. Okay, so any questions? I've already discussed it in the previous lecture. I'm just here to make you able to recall that. Okay, so any questions? Any questions? And for the next question in the assignment, okay, so essentially this question is the same as what we just discussed in the previous lecture. So if you go back to lecture 5, you will already see we already discussed the pruning issue in the PPT, okay? You can refer to what I just said in the previous lecture, or you can refer to page 36 up to page 41, okay? And then you'll be able to know how to answer this question. Okay? So any questions? And because I already explained that how to do the or I've already explained that about the alpha and beta pruning in the previous lecture. I believe that you still have a fresh memory of this, so I will not repeat myself. Okay, so any questions? Okay, for the A-star search and the best first search, just follow the rules and that I just mentioned. Okay, and for the alpha and beta pruning, just recall what I just discussed in the last lecture, okay? And you'll be able to do the assignment 2. Okay, the assignment 2 is not that difficult. All the things have specific rules and a specific way of solving the problem. Okay, you just recall those techniques and you solve it, then I believe that you are able to finish the assignment. Okay. Okay. And if you also take a look on the past paper, okay, these two type of question is also appearing in the past paper as well. Okay, so any questions? Any questions? Okay, so if there is no question, then we'll proceed to the discussion on the project. Okay, so first of all, for the course project, okay, where I strongly recommend every one of you, before you do the course project, please read through the tutorials very clearly. Okay, and the tutorial notes actually include a lot of technical detail that you must know about the project. Okay, so I would strongly recommend every one of you, before you start doing your project, please refer to the tutorial notes and read through the tutorial notes before you proceed. Okay. Okay. And the tutorial actually is written that in the style like a cooking show. Okay, I've already included many necessary steps you should know to do the project, okay? So please make sure you read through it carefully before you start doing the project. Okay? Okay. And so we'll go through the so-called machine learning, the concept of machine learning very quickly. The machine learning is actually a branch of AI, okay? Essentially, we try to ask the computer to evolve behavior based on empirical data. So the idea is that when you learn things, when you are learning about the lecture tool, the intelligent agent, okay? Essentially, the agent will have a function that maps the input to the output, right? That maps the precept of the agent to the action of the agent, right? And our issue here is that how we are able to construct this function. Okay, how we are able to construct this function. Okay, and when we are discussing the lecture 3, the agent is following a predefined algorithm to achieve the task of converting input to output. Okay, but in machine learning, we do things in another manner. Okay, rather than establishing a established subprogram, okay, establish the algorithm, we actually use a algorithm to generate a program that map the input to the output. Okay, so instead of having a rigid program, that we cannot modify, that map the input to the output, like what we do in lecture 3 and lecture 4 and lecture 5. What we are trying to do here is to let the computer create its own program to map the input to the output. Okay? 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 And essentially, when you're doing machine learning, you will go through the following steps, okay? So you'll go through the process of raw data. You collect raw data from all sorts of sources, and then you try to process the data to remove any unreliable feature or attributes or samples, okay? And then the next point is that you will transform the data into a better format, okay, such that it's easy to process. And then you will try to learn models that try to describe the internal patterns within the data, okay? And the model can hence be used to extract knowledge, okay? And essentially, in this project, we'll be working on binary classification problem. Binary classification problem, okay? So, how many of you here studied the CCC 8015? The generative AI, okay? In the generative AI common core course, you should actually learn a concept called supervised learning. So essentially in this project, we are going to let you experience what is supervised learning, okay? In the subproblem of binary classification problem, okay? And in the CCC 8015, okay, I believe that you only have the experience of running predefined code to learn the machine learning model, right? Okay, I actually taught that course as the instructor for the lab. Okay, so I understand that if my understanding is correct, in the CCC 8015, okay, the lab arrangement would actually provide you a source code that will facilitate the supervised learning, okay? And you can run the code and have an experience on what supervised learning is supposed to be, okay? But in this course, okay, we will actually take a bigger step, okay? We'll let you try to use visual programming to construct a workflow to do machine learning. Okay, and after you do the more training, then you're able to discover knowledge. Okay, and essentially, when you are working with binary classification problem, you will try to learn a program from two groups of data points. Okay, for example, if we want to learn a model that would differentiate, that would detect diabetes, what we need to do is to create a differentiator that differentiates diabetes from normal population. Okay, so the idea is that if we want to detect a person who is having diabetes or not, the doctor's action is that he will try to differentiate a person from normal differentiate diabetes patient from normal people, right? He will try to use some symptoms, okay, to try to diagnose the patient whether he have diabetes or not. The diagnosis, in fact, what it's trying to do is to compare the patient against diabetes and normal people's physical conditions. Okay, the concept of doing diagnosis on a disease is very simple. You are essentially, the doctor essentially is comparing your physical condition against the typical physical condition on diabetes patient and healthy people's condition. Okay, and we are doing the same here. Okay, so we try to build a program that can differentiate diabetes patient from normal people. Okay, and we do so by comparing their physical properties. Okay, and if we are talking about the physical properties of a data point, we can use two terms. Okay, we can use the term attribute and we can use the term features. Okay, if you really take a look on machine learning literature, you will find that the term feature and attribute are interchangeably used. And in fact, that is the law. Okay, you can actually use the term feature and attribute in the field of in the field of machine learning interchangeably. Usually there will be no consequences. Okay, and to be honest, when I'm writing the paper, when I'm writing academic paper, I will actually interchangeably use attribute and feature as well. Okay, so now if I say feature and I say attribute, they are the same thing. Okay, any questions? Any questions? So this is something you must remember. Okay, when you are in the field of machine learning, okay, if someone is telling you the term attribute and if someone is telling you the term feature, they mean the same. Okay, this is something you must remember. Okay, so what we will do is do something like this. Okay, we will collect the common set of features or attributes from the diabetes patient and from the healthy people. Okay, so I believe that most of you should at least have some experience doing social science experiment in some courses like common core courses or back in your secondary school. Okay, what you will do is you will send out questionnaire, right? Okay, and when you send out questionnaire, your interview you answer your question and their response to your questionnaire will becomes the feature set of that person, right? Okay. So for example, if your questionnaire, the first question is what is your age? Okay, then you will have collected the age of all the interviewee you interviewed, right? Okay, so the age now becomes the common attributes among all the interviewee, and all the interviewee now becomes your data point or data sample. Okay. Okay. So any questions? Okay. And now what we are trying to do now is we get the diabetes patient and we get the healthy people and we get their feature point. Okay. And then after we get their values for the common set of features, here we get whether they smoke or not, whether they drink alcohol or not, they smoke or not, they eat junk food or not, and they have a family diabetes history or not. Okay. So after we collected their property, then we do comparison between the features, okay, between the feature set of the diabetes patient and the healthy people. And then we are able to identify a set of feature points that we can use to differentiate two groups of patients. So the computer will then automatically generate a program that differentiates the diabetes patient and the healthy people. And this program right here is actually the so-called model. Okay? So in machine learning, although many people will say fancy terms like building a model, training a model, the core essence of the model is actually something like this. Okay? It is not something that is so complicated. In fact, okay? So we collected the diabetes patient and the healthy people, and we compared, and the program will compare the differences of their values across different features, and it found out that there are two features called the junk food and the family diabetes that both that the diabetes patient and the healthy people are having significantly diverse values in these two features. Okay, so in the junk food attribute, okay, the diabetes patient will always have the value of always, and the healthy people will always have the value of seldom. Okay, and for the feature of family diabetes, okay, the diabetes patient will, most of them will have the value of yes, but for the healthy people, most of them will have the value of no. So we can actually use the junk food feature and the family diabetes feature to use to differentiate these two groups of people. Okay, it all things make sense, right? Okay, all things make sense, right? All things it seems make sense, right? So any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so after the computer using its algorithm to identify which features are vastly different in values between these two feature groups, then it will construct a program that make use of the properties of these two features to write a program that can differentiate diabetes patients from the healthy people. Okay? Okay, so the process of analyzing the differences on the feature point and the construction of the program that differentiate diabetes patients from the healthy people, we call this process as machine learning model training. And this program is actually called the machine learning model. Okay? Okay? So this is the core essence of doing machine learning model training in a supervised learning classification problem. Okay, so any questions? So any questions? Conceptually, it's actually that simple. Okay? Okay. The things that is difficult is what is essentially how our AI, how our program is able to analyze the features and to construct this program. Okay, but all this will be discussed in the machine learning course. Okay, in this course, what you need to do is to at least have the conceptual understanding of this process, and that will be good enough. Okay, okay. So any questions? So any questions? Okay. And after you build this program, you may ask this, Professor, so why we want to build this program? The reason of why you want to build this program is that if we now have some other new data point and we don't know their health status, we don't know they are diabetes or they are healthy people, we can actually use the same program to differentiate them into diabetes patient group and healthy people group. Okay, so that is the reason why many people, many researchers, many companies want to work on supervised learning. The reasoning is very simple. The construction of the machine learning model can allow you to do predictions. Okay, okay, okay. The moment you can consider things like this, okay? The diabetes patient and the healthy people, they are in fact two groups of sample, right? So in the computer processing, in terms of computer processing, for the computer to identify which patient is diabetes, which person is diabetes, and what person is normal people, what you can do is you can give a identifier or label on that. Okay. And your program just output the labeling of the data point. Okay. So for example, here you can see that this program is saying sample is diabetes patient or not, or healthy people. Okay. The real implementation of this behavior is that the program will just assign a label to the sample and say that this sample is diabetes, this sample is healthy people. Okay. So that is why many people would actually consider this problem have one more attribute. And in these two group of patients, okay, and this extra attribute is the class attribute or the label. Okay. So in the real practices, okay, when you are preparing a data set, okay, what you will actually prepare is something like this. You will actually, so this is the project specification, and this is and at the end there is a table that describe the attributes available for each data sample in the data set. And if you take a look on the table, the last column is so-called the outcome. Okay, the last attribute outcome is actually the class attribute or the labeling attribute that tells you the group of the sample it belongs to. Okay, and this is our target attribute as well. This is our target attribute as well. Okay, so this is essentially the attribute that we want our model to output. Okay. So any questions? So you can consider our model is that we take all other attributes and to compute as the input and to output the value of the last attribute for all the samples. Okay, we want to build a program that takes all the other attributes in the data set of a data sample and to compute the correct class labeling attribute for that sample. So this is what supervised learning binary classification is trying to do. Okay, and after we build this model, what we can do is the following. Okay, we can actually take unseen new data samples and put it into the model and let the model output the corresponding class labels. And here our class label is the health status of the sample. Okay, So after we compute the health status, then we can use this to say whether the sample we are having is going to have diabetes or not. Okay, so in other words, our model can be used for doing predictions. Even though our new data sample, we don't know their labeling, we don't know their health status. We can use this program to output their health status. Okay, so that is why every major companies in the world will try to work on data analytics and in particular want to work on binary classification problem. It is because it can actually facilitate predictions. Okay, predictions. Okay, okay. So any questions? Okay. So the core idea is you use previously collected data and you establish the relationship between all the attributes against the labeling attributes. That is the grouping of the sample that you are interested in. Okay. In here, the grouping will be diabetes patient versus healthy people. So our labeling will be the health status of the data sample, okay? And after we build this program, then we take this program into our new samples, and then we'll compute the health status of the samples. Okay, so any questions? So this is essentially the very simplified explanation on how binary classification problem really works. Okay. So I believe that for the students who have taken CCC 8015, you already learned this. But for the students who haven't learned this in the past, you understand what I'm saying? Any questions? Any questions? And this is essentially what you need to do, okay? And let's talk about the project specification, okay? So the objective is to learn a classification model that can differentiate patients that survive and patients that pass away when they are receiving treatment in the ICU, okay? And the data set provided with the medical record of these two groups of patients. There is 159 patients that pass away, and there is 117 patients that survive in the treatment of the ICU. Okay, so in this data set, we have one critical issue that many classification problem will face. That is the two groups of the data point are not balanced. Okay, and we will actually solve the problem using this SMOTE algorithm. Okay, and we'll talk about it later. Okay, and for this two groups of patients, we will need to have a label that tell me whether which patient belongs to the first group and which person belongs to the second group. And we'll use the label attribute called the outcome to achieve the task. Okay, so if you take a look on the specification, you will see that the table at the end of the specification is describing the features that is available in this data set. And at the end, there is a feature called the outcome, and the outcome is specifying whether the patient is alive when he or she is discharged from hospital. Okay. So this is the things we need to do. And the first task is you need to create a machine learning flowchart workflow in the K-MIND toolkit, okay? for each of these following classification model, okay? Decision tree, gradient boost tree, random forest, and neural network, okay? And for each of these classification model, you will need to select one parameter, and then you will need to train the model 5 times with 5 different parameter values, okay? And for the 5 models that you trained, for the 5 version of the one of the single model that you trained, then you record the F measure of the model under the different parameter values, and then you need to identify the parameter values that can maximize the F measure of the model. Okay, and that the process is called model tuning. Okay, so the issue is that all these models are different kinds of algorithms that the computer can use to generate models that connect all the attributes of the data sample to the label or class attributes of the samples. Okay, but the issue here is that different algorithms, okay, the algorithm will behave differently with different data sets. Okay, so as a result, okay, you will want to tune the parameters of the algorithm such that you can create a better model. Okay, using the same algorithm. Okay, even you are using the same algorithm to learn to say the same kind of model under different parameter setting, you have different results. So even you are using the simple decision tree training algorithm to train a decision tree, but if your algorithm is using different set of parameters to do the training, the resulting decision tree will be different and will have different performance as well. Okay, so what I want you to do is to modify the parameters of the decision tree or of the algorithm training or the training algorithm, and to see if you are able to come up with a better model at the end. Okay, and you will ask is, Professor, so where I can change the parameter? Don't worry, I have you covered already. So if you take a look on the lecture notes here, okay, I already specified that the parameters that you can try to modify when you are doing the project, okay? Okay. So please take a look on the tutorial notes before you really do the project, okay? I already included all the details that you should know when you're doing the project. Okay, so any questions? Okay. So essentially this project is just like you are following the recipe of a cooking show and you are trying to replicate that dishes. Okay, so that is why I say that this project is not that difficult. Okay, I have included all the technical knowledge you should know in the lecture notes, in the tutorial notes. Okay, and okay, so wait. And then you would, after you tune the model and make sure all the 4 classification model, you will train that is in the best possible performance. Okay, then you compare the performance of these 4 models. Okay, this is how. So this is the overall process of this project. Okay, you try to build workflows that train the following 4 models, okay? And for these 4 models, okay, they are trained with 4 different algorithms. And these 4 different algorithms is tunable, meaning you can change the parameter of these 4 algorithms to generate the models that have a different performance. Okay, and what I want you to do is you try to tune the parameters of those algorithms such that you can make sure the four classification model you are training have the highest accuracy, the highest performance. Okay, and you compare the results among the models. Okay, and exactly what parameter value you choose for the tuning is up to you. Okay, I will leave this as the part of the project experience that you will be learning. Okay, but because I understand that it's very difficult for year 2 students to know what parameters they can work on, so I've actually included the PowerPoint, some hints about the parameters of the algorithms, of the training algorithm you can tune in the PowerPoint. Okay? 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 So, any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay? And the next thing is for the submission. You will need to submit the following three things, okay? You will need to submit the workflow files. You will also need to submit a present recording file, okay? And if your presentation recording files is larger than 50 megabyte, okay? Instead of including that video file to the zip file, you just upload your video files to the your OneDrive account, and then you share your link along with your report. Okay? Okay? Okay. So any questions? Any questions on this requirement? Okay? So in this course, we don't require you to do the presentation in class. We just ask you to do a recording at home, and then you send me the recording. Okay, that's it. Okay, and you may ask is, Professor, so how I can do the recording? You can do the recording using Zoom. Okay, and trust me, Zoom is the is the best choices that you can have. Okay. Okay. And for the Zoom, okay, you may ask is, Professor, so how I can arrange if I have a PowerPoint to illustrate my points, and also I would like to show my faces. So how I can arrange that in my video? Don't worry, I also get that covered. I included a Zoom support link you can refer to. Okay, so here in this Zoom support link, you actually can see many the detailed instructions on how to record with your faces, and if you have a PowerPoint to share as well. Okay, so you can try this. Okay, you can do a PowerPoint, and then you share screen, and then while you are sharing the screen, okay, you can also follow the instruction on the Zoom and show your faces in the Zoom recording as well. Okay, so this is what I expect you to do. Okay. Okay. So any questions? I believe that the instruction should be fair enoughly clear, right? Okay, I believe the instruction should be clear enough for you to follow, right? Okay, so any questions? Any questions? Any questions? And for the electronic report, okay, you just write down the confusion matrix of the classification model after the parameter tuning, okay, and then you also need to calculate the accuracy, the precision, the report, and the F measure, okay, and after the fine tuning, okay, and you should also include a bar chart, okay, that shows the F measures of the four classification models, okay. any short discussions on the procedure that is taken to fine-tune your model, okay? Okay, what kinds of values you have selected for the tuning, okay? You need to select a parameter and you need to select 5 values to do the tuning. Okay, so please tell me tell me exactly what parameter you chosen and what value you chosen for the fine tuning. Okay, you just tell me in the report. Okay, and finally you include a short discussion talking about which model performs the best. Okay, so any questions? Any questions? Okay. And here is some discussion on the file format on the ARFF. Okay, we just put here for the sake of letting you know. Okay, you can read at home. Okay, you don't need to necessarily know the exact file format in order to do this project. Okay, so I will skip it. Okay, so for the KMA, okay, this is a free software you can download, and it is a graphical user interface based piece of software you can do data analytics on. Okay, so if you are working on other projects, okay, in other courses, and you found that you don't want to write program for that project, you can then use these tools. Okay, so sometimes you may think that, okay, this project I want to do some data analytics, but I don't want to work with Python. Okay, I believe maybe you think that it is way too complicated for that project. Okay, then you can use these tools. Okay, and let's talk about the UI. Okay, so I will do the demo here. Okay, I will not be able to do the complete demo of the software. Okay, but anyway, okay, we will continue our demo after the Easter holiday. When we after the lecture, after the Easter holiday. Okay, because of the Easter holiday. Okay, we need each week's Friday and next week Monday's lecture notes is being cancelled. Okay, because of the holidays. Okay, we have the Easter holidays and we have another holiday. Okay, so the lectures in this week Friday and next week Monday is cancelled. Okay, but so after the Easter holiday, we'll continue the discussion on the UI if I'm not able to finish it today. Okay, so this is the UI of the KMine. Okay, when you start it, okay, it will show you a interface like this. Okay, so what you want to do is to click the local space. Okay, and you'll be able to see all the workflow you are working on in your computer. Okay, and if you click on it, then you will be able to launch the workflow you are working on. Okay, so let me save it first. Okay, so if I click it, then now I will be able to work on my workflow files. Okay, and you can manipulate all the workflow here just like you are manipulating a file browser. Okay, so if I want to create workflow, then I just press this button and I enter a name, and then I'm able to create one. Okay, so for example, maybe I will try something like this. Okay, so now the new project, the new workflow will be created. Okay, and it will also open up. Okay, and one thing, and after you work on the workflow file. Okay, supposedly I want to submit my assignment right now. So what you would need to do, listen very carefully. So now you finished working on the workflow file and you want to submit your assignment. Okay, so what you need to do is to click on the workflow file you have just created, you just work on, and then right click, and then there is an export button. click it, and then you will be able to select where you want to output your files. Okay, for example, here I just select it output right here. Okay, and then I press the finish the button. And if you go back to the location you store it, okay, and you can see the newly created workflow file right here, okay, and you submit this file to me, okay, understand? Because I've taught this course for many years. Some students, they have very creative way of submitting their assignment. For example, they will actually just copy the underlying underlying files created by the KMine and send to me directly. Okay. The internal data stored for the KMine and they say to me directly. Okay. This method will not always work, okay? But exporting it to KNWF file and send that file to me will always work. Okay? The issue is some students will use very creative way to submit the assignment. For example, actually the KMine will store all the information inside a folder under your user directory. And what they will do is they will just submit the the folder corresponding workflow and they send to me in this manner, okay? But this manner I will strongly discourage. The reason is sometimes maybe there is a bug. I just cannot open that workflow file. I just cannot open your folder in that sense that you send it to me. Okay, and marks will hence be deducted. Okay, although I still can able to read through the content inside the folder and give you partial credit, but marks will get deducted. Okay, so remember to avoid having any mark deduction, send me a KNWF file. Okay. Okay. To send you, in order to send me the file, what you need to do is to click on the workflow file you work on, right click and then export, and then you use the file browser to locate the area you want to save the new KNWF file, and then you press the finish to get the file output. Okay, and then you send that file to me. Okay. Please remember to use the proper way to submit your workflow files. Okay. Okay. So any questions? Otherwise, marks will be deducted. Okay. I would say is, if you are submitting your workflow file in other manner, then there is a risk I cannot open the workflow file, and as a result, marks will be deducted. Okay. Okay, I've already warned you about this. So please remember, okay? Please remember this, okay? And essentially, when you are working with a workflow file, this is the interface that you will have, okay? So essentially, you will have an area for you to put down the nodes, okay? The nodes are functional components that each node represent a process, a step in machine learning. So what you need to do in the workflow is I lay out all the steps that I need to do in the machine learning workflow, and then the KMine computer software will follow the workflow that you illustrated in the workflow file and then do the machine learning tasks. So it's just like programming, but you do it in with graphical interface. Okay. So if you have play around with Lego robot when you are in secondary school, okay, you will find that the Lego robot, okay, the official programming toolkit released by Lego for the Lego robot is having a similar programming style as well. Okay, okay. So one thing you need to do is you need to do is you go to preference and then you need to check out okay, you need to go to KMine Modern UI and you need to select all nodes here. Okay, there is an option to ask you whether you want to include all the nodes or you want to include the starter nodes. So because we are working on something that may be considered as advanced in the KMine, so you need to select the all nodes here. Okay, you need to select the all nodes here. Okay. Okay, if you do not select the all nodes, then some feature of the KMine will not be available and you cannot finish this project. Okay, okay. Let me remind you once again. In order for you to have access to all the functional nodes, when you are creating the machine learning workflow, you must go to preference. Okay, go to preference by pressing this button. Okay, this button. And then under the KMine Modern UI tab, you need to select all nodes for nodes included in the node repository and node recommendation. Okay, you need to select all nodes here. Okay, see my mouse pointer. Okay, you need to select this one. Okay, otherwise you cannot access to all the nodes necessary to do your project. Okay. And to do programming and to illustrate your and to create your workflow is that simple. You just go to this area. Okay. You select the nodes. Okay. So now, as you can see here, right now I press this button. Okay. Notice my mouse pointer. I press this button, and now I can actually have access to all the functional nodes that is necessary for me to create a workflow for a machine learning task. Okay, and now I want to work on ARFF node, so I will type ARFF. Okay, so you may ask this professor, so there are so many nodes here, so how I can find the nodes that I want to use. You can just use the search function right here. For example, I want to add a functional node such that it will read the data file that I provided to you. So what I would want to do is to type ARFF. And now I will draw the ARFF reader to the area for drawing the workflow. Okay, but you will see that this ARFF reader have a exclamation mark. Okay, although maybe I will enlarge it. Okay, so under the ARFF node there is a exclamation mark right here. Okay, the exclamation mark is telling you that this node has some configuration you haven't done yet. So what you need to do is to right click and then select config. Right click and select config. Okay. And then there is a window. Okay. So as you can see here, the reason why it will have an exclamation mark is because we still haven't defined our data set. So what you need to do is to press the browse button and then you select your file. Okay. Okay, now after I selected the path, then the exclamation mark goes away. Okay, okay. And if you take a look on the notes, you will see there are three different lights. Right below it. Okay, it is actually following the paradigm of traffic light. Okay, so If you see a red light, that means that there is error in your running. If there is a yellow light, that means that the functional node is ready, but it is not being executed yet. If you right click and execute, then if the execution is correctly done, then you will get a green light. Okay, so you can know the execution status of this node by taking a note on the right arm right below the functional node. Okay. So you will also notice that in this node we have a black arrow. We have a black arrow, okay? So this black arrow is representing the output part of the functional node. So after this functional node read the data contained in the data file you specify that, then it will read those data into your memory, and the data is now available to be transported to another node with this with this black arrow. Okay, so what you want to do is to select another node. So if you refer to the lecture notes, okay, the other node is the missing value. So we will try to put the missing value node right here, okay? Okay, so now the missing value node is right here and is now having red arrow, red light sign, red traffic light sign, because it doesn't receive any data yet. So in order for you to transfer the data from the ARFF reader to the missing value, what you want to do is to connect the right arrow at the ARFF reader to the left input arrow of the missing value. So okay, so here is my mouse cursor, okay? So now you can see my mouse cursor. So I'll put the mouse cursor to the ARFF reader right arrow, that is the output arrow, and I click it, okay? And I click it, and I drag it to the missing value, okay? This will tell the computer to establish a connection between the ARFF reader function node to the missing value function node, okay? And now, because the missing value receive input from the ARFF reader, so now it no longer in the error state, so it will become the yellow sign. Okay, so what you need to do next is to right click and then config, and then you will select you will select the algorithm, the treatment used to fill in the missing value. Okay, so for string we can choose the most frequent value, and for number we can just select the rounded mean. And after you press the apply, then you finish the configuration on how to handle the missing values in your machine learning flow. Okay, so essentially the overall workflow, overall technique involved in doing the project is something like this. You construct the flow chart by drawing out functional component that is necessary in your project, in your machine learning task, and then after you finish your workflow, then you get your results. Okay, so fundamentally speaking, you are just like doing programming. You list out all the instructions that your computer need to do a machine learning task. But we are using a graphical user interface style to achieve this purpose. Okay, so any questions? So I understand that many students would want to make use of their holiday times to work on the project. Okay, so if you really want to work on the project right now, if you are confident enough, you can just follow the guidelines. You can just follow the instructions in the tutorial notes, okay? Okay, but we will discuss them anyway after the Easter holiday. Okay? Okay. And for the assignment 2, okay, the deadline is the 13th of April. You should already know how to do it. We already discussed similar questions in the lectures, okay? So you can just follow them and then do the assignments. Okay, if you don't have any questions, then that will be the end of today's lecture. Okay, I will open up the I will first end the video recording.